You can see the videos online of her getting up to testify, and they're so sad because you can literally see the pain in her eyes. 25-year-old Abigail Zwerner was a teacher at Rich Neck Elementary School in Newport News in Virginia. She was one of 4 first-grade teachers, and she was the kind of teacher who you could just tell really loved her job. She really had a deep down passion for it. She also came from a family who valued education, and she had other family members that also worked in the education field. So it came as no surprise that teaching was the career path that Abby chose for herself. She graduated university in 2019, and she went on to get her master's in 2020. Her students loved her, other teachers loved her. I found this quote regarding her that I feel like it really gives you an idea of the kind of person that she is. It reads, quote, "The custodians and other teachers spoke about how she's a good teammate. She's a team player. She loves children. She's just all around a good teacher. She went beyond the call of duty to make sure all of her children's needs were met," end quote. So Rich Neck Elementary School has students from kindergarten all the way up to the 5th grade. And in 2023, Abby had a 6-year-old boy as one of her students. That little boy was known to have a history of random outbursts, so much so that in September of 2023, his schedule was completely switched around because of his bad behavior. Because he would get so out of control, it was even ordered that one of his parents had to be with him because he had, quote, "acute disability" and was under a care plan at the school that included his mother or father attending school with him and going to class every day, end quote. But the week in which today's story takes place was the first week that his parents did not go with him to school. His schedule was switched from normal days to half days again because of the behavioral issues. It was not uncommon for this little boy to curse at teachers or other students, to throw things around, even throw around furniture when he got angry, to chase down other students, holding different items in his hands to scare them. He once also barricaded a classroom door, and in 2021 there was also a report alleging that he approached his teacher from behind, wrapped his arms around her neck, and pulled her head backwards. For that, he was suspended, but he was eventually allowed to return back to school. Point being, the kid had behavioral issues. Him acting out was a known thing for this boy, and Abby, being his teacher, understood that, and she tried her best to try and work with him. It also adds a level of discomfort knowing that the 6-year-old little boy had previously told a different teacher that he not only hated Abby, but he wanted to set her on fire. Extremely alarming behavior for anyone, let alone a 6-year-old child. On January 4th of 2023, the 6-year-old little boy somehow managed to get a hold of Abby's phone. He threw it on the ground, completely smashing the screen. Because of that, he was suspended for a day, but he was eventually allowed to return back to school January 6th. And that Friday morning, the 6-year-old had found a weapon that his mom kept at home. He put it in his backpack and he took it with him to school. Allegedly, his mother had the weapon stored on top of a shelf in a closet in her bedroom. And according to her, it had a lock on it, but somehow, some way, the little boy found it, put it in his backpack, and took it with him. From the moment he showed up to school, which was around lunchtime, right before, like around 11 a.m., he was already acting out. And during recess that day, Abby became suspicious that the little boy had something on him, and she told 2 other school employees about her suspicions, leading to one of them searching his backpack, but they did not find anything. However, after lunch, Abby Zwerner approached Ebony Parker, the school's assistant principal, and looped her in on the situation, letting her know that she was concerned. Also saying that even though they did not find anything inside of his backpack, she had seen him remove something from his backpack and suspected that he could have whatever he had, which she assumed was a weapon, inside of his pockets. However, the assistant principal didn't really seem to be concerned about it, saying, well, he has little pockets, kind of like suggesting that he didn't have anything in his pockets, saying that they were small and nothing could fit in them. I don't know. Abby also told her that the little boy appeared to be in a, quote, violent mood, end quote, not only towards her, but also towards the other students. And Abby stated that when she shared that information with Miss Parker, she had no response. When Miss Parker was notified that they searched through the backpack and found nothing, it was around 12:30 p.m., so right after lunchtime, and just after 1 p.m., a third teacher told administrators that a different student who had been crying, clearly out of fear, had admitted to the teacher that he had seen the weapon during recess, and said that the 6-year-old little boy told him that he was planning on using the weapon on Abby, and told him that if he told anyone that he had seen it, he would use the weapon on him. That was also brought to the attention of Miss Parker, who only said that his backpack had already been searched, so all was good. And then a 4th school employer, a guidance counselor, who had heard about the situation, was also extremely concerned, and they asked Miss Parker for permission to conduct a search of the boy on his person, not on his backpack or belongings. But they were told no, just wait it out because the school day was almost over. So that morning, at least 3 separate times, on or around 11:30, on or around 12:30, and at 1 p.m., school administration heard concerned teachers express that they were very much worried that the 6-year-old little boy could have a weapon on him, yet they still thought the right thing to do was just wait it out. And then around 2 p.m., the boy would use the weapon on Abby Zwerner. In her classroom, while she was in the middle of teaching a lesson, the 6-year-old little boy pulled out the weapon, pointed it at her, and fired it. When he did, Abby threw up her hands to defend herself, but it went straight through her hand and directly into her chest, injuring her severely. Yet immediately after, Abby did not collapse. She didn't fall. She used any and all strength that she had left to hurry up and rush the other students out of the classroom, which were about 20 other kids. Rushed them out of the classroom and into the hallway when another school employee rushed into her classroom because he had heard the sound, and he restrained the 6-year-old little boy. Abby had a gaping wound on her chest, yet still she put the other students before herself. She made sure that all of the kids were out of the classroom before she stepped out, and even when she did step out into the hallway to walk towards the office to go and look for help, the chief of police stated, quote, "She turned around to make sure that every one of those students was safe. I believe she did save lives because I don't know what else might have happened," end quote. In the front office, when they heard about what happened, the school administration began working on a school-wide lockdown, and just before the office door was locked shut, Abby Sorner showed up and said, "Call 911, I've been before she fainted and collapsed to the ground. There was a 55-year-old woman in the office who was there to pick up her grandchildren from school, and she rushed over to Abby and applied pressure to the wound, waiting for the paramedics to get there. When emergency responders got there, they treated Abby and rushed her over to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. When describing this later on in court, Abby stated, quote, "I thought I was done. I thought I had died. I thought I was either on my way to heaven or that I was in heaven," end quote. Since then, Abby has suffered with PTSD, anxiety, and depression diagnosed by her psychiatrist, and to this day, she continues to have nightmares about the situation. And even after 6 surgeries, her surgeon has said that her hand will never be the same again. Abby still has a hard time performing basic tasks like opening a water bottle or opening a bag of chips. Many of her family members and friends have also said that Abby has never been the same since then, which makes sense. Such a traumatizing thing to go through. Her doctor has said, quote, "She has lost the sense of being safe, something that she had not experienced before. Even when she was feeling depressed or anxious, she now does not want to go anywhere. She has become socially withdrawn and isolated, pulled away from friends, didn't want to be in public as much, and felt fear in places that she did not feel fear in before," end quote. The 6-year-old little boy was taken into a detention facility and he received a mental health assessment, but because he was only 6 years old at the time, he was not charged with any crime, his family stating that he was receiving treatment at a medical facility where it was ruled that he was required to be under constant supervision. The boy's family also released a statement expressing sympathy for Abby. So he was not charged with anything because under Virginia law, a child that young legally cannot be tried or found criminally responsible for a felony. However, his mom, she was charged. She was charged for leaving a weapon accessible to a child and for felony. She pleaded guilty to both charges in 2023 and she was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Shortly after the incident, both Abby and Miss Parker resigned. The school board voted out the superintendent and the principal was reassigned to a different school. Abby Zwerner then sued the Newport News Public School Board and school officials for $40 million, and the school district attempted to have the case dismissed on the grounds that the injury fell under the Virginia's Workers' Compensation Act. But a judge ruled that Abby could proceed with her lawsuit. However, the judge also dismissed the school board and the other parties from the lawsuit, meaning that only Mrs. Parker, the assistant principal, was left to face the trial. Abby's lawsuit was accusing school administrators of negligence that allegedly allowed the incident to take place, saying that Ms. Parker ignored warning signs from teachers, other staff members, as well as students that had seen the weapon, and saying that the poor decisions that she made to do nothing led to what happened. Mrs. Parker's lawyer, on the other hand, argued that the situation was unforeseeable, that nobody could have imagined it, and stated that the assistant principal's role is collaborative and school safety is a shared responsibility among all staff, not just one individual, saying, quote, "No one is the sole person responsible for school safety," end quote. On November 6th of 2025, a Virginia jury awarded Abby $10 million in her civil lawsuit against former assistant principal Miss Parker. Yeah, I mean, what can you say? It's quite literally depressing. Every single aspect of this story broke my heart. But yeah, that is all I have for today's video. Thank you for spending time with me today. I hope you guys are having the best day. If not, go do something to make it the best day. Make somebody happy, and I will see you in my next video. Massive kiss on the forehead to every single one of you.